Anthony's first time on Reflection, so he doesn't know about my little intro. Anyways, hi guys, it's Val in the building. We got a new guest on today. I want him to introduce himself and tell our audience where you can find him, what's his audience, and blase, blase, blase. So go ahead, Anthony. Tell them where they can find you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
My name is Anthony Diaz. I'm the co-founder of the Newark Water Coalition. Our IG is Clean Water, the number 4, Newark. My political IG is Newark Politics. Check us out online, www.newarkwatercoalition.com.
So for those who don't know you, so they could just know what your title is, so they can grasp what your main mission is, for them to just know what your title is. What is it?
So it changes all the time, but I stick with co-founder of the Newark Water Coalition.
Co-founder?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What's the Newark Water Coalition?
So the Newark Water Coalition, we are a group of radical leftist organizers in the city of Newark that are pushing the needle on liberation on various things. So a lot of people label us as an environmental justice group. I think we're a social justice group. I think all struggles are interconnected. And I definitely believe if you can organize around water, you can organize around anything.
Correct. I think in one of our episodes, in a recent, I think it was around episode 30s, we had Victoria's VQ on here. And she was speaking a lot about you and the Newark Water Coalition and what you guys basically did. So there was brief mention there on that episode on what you guys stood for. And she did mention your name, Anthony Diaz, and how you were her best friend.
I'm a best friend now? That's cool.
Yeah, how much you've impacted her in starting her own activism. Because she said you didn't have any help or anything when you started. You just kind of started.
I think that's what I love about our group is that everybody gets caught up in policy and procedure, or we got to have a meeting before the meeting, or we got to figure this out. But for me, it's all about show, just do it. Just do it. Just like Nike, right? Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. But it must have been hard for you just to even get that going. Or let's reboot back to a time where Anthony Diaz didn't even have the Newark Water Coalition even as a thing, and you were just this guy who just spoke up when you wanted to, or had a voice when you felt like it needed to be heard. When did you felt like this natural ability came? What age was it?
I definitely think this kind of passion came in high school. We definitely were wild kids in high school. One of my best friends, Michael Ortega, was a socialist at the age of 17, 18, just talking to us about communism and things like that. But, I'm just trying to get an extra milk with my lunch. I wasn't, I was just doing regular stuff. But we went to Science High School in the city of Newark. It used to, where I went to school at, it was an abandoned beer factory. So the top floors were condemned, the basement would flood, the locker rooms would flood. It was a terrible building, but we were one of the top performing schools in Jersey. And so it was this kind of disconnect, why are all the smart kids treated this way? Why is this our building? Why don't we have a state-of-art facility? Why are we getting kind of the short end of the sticks? And we were nah, this is not right. Mm-hmm. So we started speaking up. And so I can't tell you that it was one thing or the other. I just realized at this point in time, especially looking back on that, it was nah, this was in my soul. I cannot look at inequity and be okay with it. I cannot look at injustice and be all right, you know what? I'm going to turn a blind eye.
Everyone in this world does.
I think, I want to say that everybody has the ability to activate. They just haven't found their passion yet. And maybe their passion is buried under what is life. And
maybe they're just trying to figure that out.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And they haven't. And so one of the things as an organizer or, an activist is I try to draw that passion out of people. I try to give them a moment of this is what you need to do because this is your calling. And if I could do that under the framework of the Newark Water Coalition or any of our activities or any of our projects, That is what I'm setting out to do. So when I talk about liberation, I'm talking about, mind, body, and spirit. When you come to volunteer with us, it's not just about giving out clean water because of the water crisis in the city of Newark. It's about how does VAL step into her power in the space of the Newark Water Coalition. And I love to facilitate that. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I love to facilitate that.
Yeah, but even then, just trying to find your voice into activism must have been hard, no? Like, you having battled your past and your family's doubts or your friends' doubts or your fears, like, wasn't that hard for you to kind of step into, or was it just a smooth transition to? Like stepping into your first year of activism?
Stepping into my first year, it was different because I organized a lot in high school and then I left, right? I just completely dropped off the map in terms of politics and organizing work. And then I got back into it back when I think Michael Brown was murdered, and then like Tamir Rice and Trayvon Martin. I was like, nah, I have to get back into the mix. I felt that call to just like, we got to fight. We got to fight. Somebody needs to speak up. But the problem is the world changed. I went to school in 2004. You're talking about maybe 2012 when all of this was going on. This is when BLM really started kicking off.
Right.
And, I'm just such a traditional organizer. Knock on doors, canvas. This is how we, mobilize the people and get it out. And the world wasn't like that. There was a lot of clout chasing. There was a lot of doing this for the gram. There was a lot of like doing this for the Facebook post or the social media post. And people really weren't about that life. And so
wasn't that hard for you?
Yeah, it was
as
frustrating.
An activist that was wholeheartedly into this, that you thought it out, you strategized, you planned it, to have a fellow activist just come and do it for the clout and the attention and the like, how did you combat that? Like,
so back then it was a lot of hating. Back then it was a lot of me being angry and a lot of me being frustrated. I would say fast forward now, several years later, that I ultimately understand the only person you can control is yourself. And with me and my actions, I'm going to push out as much hope as possible. I can't worry about the intentions of other people. I can't worry about what other people are doing. I can only focus on what I want to do with this organization and put on for my community. And that's it. At the end of the day, you're either aligned with me or you're not. And those who tend not to be aligned with me, tend not to keep up. Yeah, it's not my problem, and they tend not to keep up.
And they eventually weed out.
Exactly, facts.
But when you first started this, like, didn't you have fears, doubts, tribulations that stormed over your mind before you even acted out on this activism journey?
I wouldn't even say I still have those fears. I still have those doubts. Sometimes I wonder if I'm making the right decision for the organization. Sometimes I wonder if, like, hey, is this the right call for the groups? Because, our distributions where we give out clean water, we're dealing with, hundreds of families. So if I make a decision, it affects hundreds of families. Back then, I think I wasn't really conscious of that. I was just wilding. I was just doing things for the sake of doing it. Mm-hmm. Now I understand the implications and the consequences of my actions.
Right.
So I would say those fears have grown a little bit more, and those doubts are sometimes there, but understanding ultimately that my heart is pure and I'm doing this for the right reasons. Like sometimes, a distribution or a project might not go the right way, or we might not execute it as perfect as I want, but you know what? We still did it.
Right. It doesn't matter how small or how grand the opportunity that comes to you presents itself at the door. If you believe in your activism and what you stand for strong enough, you'll be able to withstand any doubt, any fear, anything that may be putting up a wall to even get to that opportunity.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
And what I love is that, in believing in myself, all the opportunities have opened up. All the doors have just like flew open. And a lot of it is like, yeah, there are some fears, there are some doubts. But right now, my lived experience is like, this has completely transformed my life. Doing the work of the Newark Water Coalition has completely transformed my life. And if you would have told me 2 years ago, I'd be sitting here with Reflections with Val,
hey!
Feeling all grand, hand tats and all this stuff, I would have laughed. I would have been like, there's no way. There's no way that sitting, 2 years ago, opening a church door for a community meeting, that I thought I would be here now. And that's beautiful.
So when you started, you just started with a community church meeting.
Yeah, it was, I sent out this message like, hey, we know there's a water issue in the city of Newark. We're trying to tackle it. We're trying to find solutions to it. Please show up. And I'm expecting 5, 10 people max.
Right.
30 people show up.
Wow.
And I'm blown away. Just blown away. Because, I've been doing this for a long time. Having 5 people, that's success right there. Having 30 people, there's a movement. There's something more to this.
Right.
Like I'm brought in, I'm locked in, I'm tapped in because I know that people care about this.
And just for those who don't know, in these audiences that are listening all around the world, we're from Newark, New Jersey. And this reason why he started this organization and activist program is because there's lead in the faucet in Newark, New Jersey, and what does lead cause? Like, how many diseases? Like, let's just name them.
So lead is one of those things that disproportionately changes your life, right? If you're under the age of 6, you get developmental diseases or problems. It increases aggression. It really, really, you can't focus in school. It just has all these implications on your life. When you're older, it takes the place of calcium, causes all these other health implications, and it's bad. It's just bad. And the thing about lead that I try to explain to people all the time is that it's a silent killer. Like, you're not going to be able to see it. You're not going to be able to taste it. You're not going to be able to feel it. And once when you've been poisoned, it's a little too late. And so, Newark has a water crisis going on. And right now our lead levels are around 17 parts per billion, which the federal standard is about 15. 2 years ago, our lead levels were about 52 parts per billion. So it's moving in the right direction. But one of the things that I stress to everybody is there's no safe level of lead. So it doesn't matter if it's, 5 parts, 10 parts, 15 parts. There's no safe level of lead.
There should be no lead, period.
Exactly. So, that's the issue that was kind of like thrusted in my lap, but using that to talk about everything, because we know the problem is systemic. We know that it's environmental racism. We know it's not just about this water issue. It's why is this happening in Newark, but it's not happening in a suburban town? Or why is this social, it's this social economic demographic that it's happening in, but not in affluent communities. So when you look at that and you start pointing that issue out, and you start looking at the other things that the city, or the other problems that the city of Newark
have,
right. You're just like,
it doesn't align.
Exactly.
There's something off here. We need to get to the bottom line of things, or if not, act out. And that's what you guys all chose as a group to do.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I liked about your question, because it definitely made me think, is like, it wasn't as much fear and doubt now, because again, when we started, I couldn't imagine us being here. I couldn't imagine us having the impact that we have today. I couldn't imagine us having the resources that we have. So back then, our whole intention was just doing right by our people. And it's led us to this today.
Doing right by your people is making them aware of things that they don't know about.
Yeah, and one, making them aware of things they don't know about. 2, providing them resources to protect them and their family. And 3, activating them so that they can advocate for themselves on not just this water issue, but all the issues. It's one of those things, like, I'm definitely a visionary, right? Having this approach of not just solving the water crisis, but solving all crises through this water crisis.
So you want to potentially solve all water crises?
Not all. I'm not even talking about water. I'm talking about food. I'm talking about safety. I'm talking about, housing, everything, because it's all interconnected. We can't, we solve the water crisis, great. But if you have food insecurity, that's another problem. Great. Well, I solved your water, but now you can't eat.
Right.
I solved your water, but now you don't have a place to stay. I solved your water, but you got crime in your neighborhood. So it's like, we can't just tackle this one issue.
We have to tackle multiple issues within the neighborhood. So what made you kind of tackle and be that voice and that beacon for those people? Is it because you personally went through something of this sorts and growing up in this atmosphere, or it's just something else that's driven you to do this?
I think it's a few things. I think one is definitely exposure. I've been exposed to a lot of different things in my life. You know, I was a smart kid. That allowed me to travel to different places, look at different cities, meet different people. And then when you're exposed to all of that, and then you come back home and you're just like, why is my neighborhood like this? Why are my friends, houses, why don't they have roaches, right? Why do I have to check my cereal every morning? Why do I have mice running around?
Yeah.
It's things that I thought were normal that weren't normal.
And you know what? You're preaching to someone like me, because that's how I was brought up. I was brought up in a roach infested home, and that was my normal.
Yeah. And
like everybody else had the same issue.
I still can't eat not Rice
Cereal.
Krispies. There's certain Smack cereal because they look like roaches. I still can't eat that to this day. And it bugs me out because it's like, that's not normal.
Yeah, that's not normal.
And so why do we have that inequity in our society? We know that that's not normal. We've, by the grace of God, right, we got out of that situation. And we don't have, but we're not, there's so many VALs and there's so many Anthonys still in that situation that don't need to be in that situation.
Is that why you choose to speak up?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's personal things that you have gone through in your upbringing that you just feel like it's your point, it's your purpose to speak for others.
I definitely, and I have to say that in the 16 years or so that I've been doing this work, it's only now in the last 2 years or actually, I'm gonna be real honest, it's in the last 6 months where I really feel like this is my purpose. Because I fundamentally understand now that there are folks out there that don't have a voice, that need a beacon of hope. They need a light. They need an inspiration in order to get them through the next hour, through the next, day or so.
Right.
And so, like, understanding that that's my call. Okay, great. But now what do I do with it? What do I do with that responsibility? And for me, it's like push out as many programs, meet people where they are to try to get them to realize a better world is absolutely possible.
I mean, you started with zero donations. You guys just kind of like picking as much as you can from any donations in any places you guys could. So now where you guys are, like, let's go into that growth period, right? So people can understand.
So we still need money. I just
yeah, of course.
Please donate. Go to our website, check us out, donate. But I would say that we're fortunate enough that the money that we got initially, I was able to pour back into the organization. I tell this story all the time. The first purchase we made with our big donation was a t-shirt machine and a t-shirt printer. So that when we needed money and when the money ran out, we could press t-shirts so that we could pour money back into the organization. Now what I'm trying to do is pay our high school volunteers. Like our youngest volunteer started volunteering with us when he was 13 years old. And now he's 16. And now we're paying him to distribute water in his community. And for me, like, that's life-changing. That's dope. This kid, who knows, right? His life has dramatically altered because of the work that we're doing together.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
It's understanding like, all right, now I got to get funding so I can do this on a bigger scale. I got to get funding to do different programmings. We're going to drop a socially conscious album soon. We have an apparel collaboration going on. I want to do a graphic novel. And people are always like, well, why is the Newark Water Coalition doing this? And I'm always like, why not?
Yeah. Why limit us? Why box us?
We are a grassroots organization proving that we can do or tackle this problem of liberation in an innovative, creative, in an imaginative way. Another thing I talk about a lot is the X on my hand. So, it's a tribute to Malcolm X because by any means necessary means any project. Let's do it. Why not? Why limit ourselves? Why box ourselves? Because I'm here to show everyone that there's a different pathway to success out of what they told you you gotta go to
Right.
school.
Brainwashed us.
You gotta go to school. You gotta get this degree. You gotta play the game. You gotta work hard. Nah, you gotta work smart. You gotta work in community. You gotta work with together. You gotta uplift people, because playing their game is only gonna get their results, and that's not what I'm about at all.
You're not about putting someone else's results or being a validation of other people. You're about being that beacon and that voice for your true purpose, right?
And I would say, that validation, if anything I've learned, comes from within and comes from yourself, because I could not begin to show up for my community if I hadn't shown up for myself first.
Right.
And that journey is never ending, and it's continuous, and it is hard. It is hard.
Really?
It's super hard.
What's one of the biggest lessons you've overcame in this journey?
You will lose friends. You will lose friends.
Oh my God, yes.
You will lose friends. You will
be by yourself, essentially, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to go there. I didn't want
would
to say
go
that.
alone.
Sometimes I'm lonely. Sometimes it's a lonely path, because even the people around you don't necessarily get your vision. And one of the things that I learned, again, I've learned every day is a lesson for me. And what I've learned recently is just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they don't trust you. And that's hard for me, because I'm like, oh, what do you mean? You've been rocking with me forever. You know what it is. You should trust me by now. But sometimes they don't see it. And sometimes that's hard. That's hard for me to get. So I in this journey, I've lost one of my best friends. One of my best friends. We were childhood best friends. He had given me a job, and at one point I said, I can't do this anymore. It was a choice of keeping my salary as an IT director at a charter school, or I had no savings. I had no money in the bank account. I said, you know what? I'm going to quit in 2 weeks and see where this goes.
Right.
Literally, that's the story of my journey into the Newark Water Coalition. And people are like, you're crazy. You're going to give up a salary. You don't even know what you're going to do. You're like, where are you going to be at? And blah, blah, blah. And here we are 2 years later. I am the best version of myself. I feel happy. I know that we are making tremendous waves, tremendous moves, tremendous projects on the horizon. And it's all because I doubled down on myself. And it cost me that friendship. And one of the things I said, and I don't talk to him at all.
That must have been so hard.
Oh, absolutely hard. Absolutely hard. But, if they were my real friend, if they were really in my corner, they would have supported me. Because you can't look at where I was then and look at where I'm at now and say that I haven't grown or haven't progressed in my life.
Oh, this is deep.
And it's tough.
Right.
It's tough because it's like, I understood that relationship. Like, I never wanted to lose them. But then, even now I talk to some of my friends and I'm very like, this is how I'm living my life in a radical, honest way. It's like, why are we friends? Are we friends out of convenience? Are we friends because we just been around each other for a long time? Or are you rocking with me because you believe in my purpose and my call? Because if you don't, then why are you in my life? And that's a very tough conversation to have, but it's a necessary conversation. Because the way I'm moving, I need more people in my corner
to be moving the same way.
Exactly.
And
than against me. Yeah.
Yeah, you gonna hinder me.
Exactly. And it's tough. And I would say there's a lesson to be learned even with the people that are hindering you. One of my high school teachers once told me, he's like, if you think about your life as a train, some people get on, they get off at the next stop. Mm-hmm. Some people ride the whole way. Some people get off to get back on. But it's still your train. It's still your life. And that's tough because my chosen family is my family. Because my family, and we're working through that now too, but my family, I've always pushed to the side. And it's always been my chosen family
has had a special heart and a special place.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with me. I had a special family. And just recently, the same thing has happened where I had to let go of my best friend of 10 years. And it's a painful process. But I now understand why it needed to be done. I reflected back on the last 3 years of our friendship and I said, wait a minute, was she going to benefit into the next chapter I was going to head to? Not really. Was she going to add life or increase? Not really. It was going to be the same thing from the last, 5 years. So I felt like it was God telling me, like, listen, this is it. This is your chapter. And I feel like if you were to go on to your next chapter with this person by your side, they're just going to hinder you. I need you to elevate in higher levels, and you will. But if you have this person next to your side, you won't.
And
because like I'm so selfless, I can tend to put my stuff on the side and just instantly put someone else's feelings. I don't know if you're the same way. Activists tend to struggle with that.
Definitely. And even now, like, because it's the concept of you can't save everybody. Including your friends and your family. You can't save everybody. And the thing is like, even if conceptually I know that, I still try to do it. But what I'm learning now is that I can't save everybody and hurt myself at the same time. And that's what it was. That's where it clicked for me.
That's like that toxicity. Yeah.
Exactly. We're like, I can want to save everybody, but if at a certain point I'm harming myself, then I'm not saving myself because one, do I really love myself? I wouldn't put myself in these situations. If I really wanted to show up for my community, this is not me showing up for my community by allowing these people to stay in my life. So boundaries are important. Understanding like what I'm willing to put up with and what I'm not willing to put up with these days is so powerful because the way, again, we're doing such phenomenal work that I understand that I cannot allow everyone to have access to me.
Right.
I cannot allow everyone's energy or depression to affect me because I already got my own stuff that I need to deal with. So being able to help people when I can, and it's not being phony, it's not being shady, it's understanding who I really, really am.
Right. I think it's about having boundaries, really.
Yeah. Like
I feel like there's like we're gonna be givers, we're gonna help, but we're gonna always know when we can put a cap to it. And we're like, all right, it's enough giving. It's enough energy you're exchanging here.
Yeah. Listen, I'm like a nuclear reactor. Like I will put in the most kind of energy. But again, it's like, I have to be more understanding with myself.
And more aware of
exactly
when you can give.
Self-awareness is huge.
But you're doing it already by mentioning it and just bringing it up. That's the step. It's like acknowledgement is the first step. So you are doing it. So I pat myself on the back when I can. Exactly.
I understand that like I'm in therapy. I definitely know that my mind moves faster than my body, and sometimes I do wild out, and sometimes like the zen leaves real quick because I am from Newark and I was born and raised there, so I know what it is.
Yeah, born and raised in Patterson.
So exactly right. We know what it is. But it's a understanding of looking at the world today. I can choose what I allow to bother me and choose what I allow to disturb my peace. And 9 times out of 10, I don't have the time for that. I just don't have the time for that because it's like I'm moving so heavy now. Why allow this nonsense to disturb my peace and disturb where I'm heading?
I think the only reason that you'll allow it to is if you don't want to think about something that you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because it's uncomfortable for us too. This is comfortable though. I know drama. I know gossip. But I don't know how to do my own LLC. So instead of me starting my steps on that, I just go over here and bother, Sally over here.
I talk about it in the sense of like breaking cycles and looking at the cycles in my life. If it's a relationship that doesn't serve me, if it's a food that I know is not healthy for me.
Like your toxic ex-boyfriend or girlfriend that you always go back to, like that kind of food. Yeah, I hear you.
Yes, that is one. That is one.
It's like
I'm in the fortunate enough to be in a place where I, was seeing a woman and I said to her, you know what? I can't tell you that there's something wrong between us, but there's a red flag here. And I don't like what I'm feeling. And so the last time I didn't listen to my red flag, I ended up in a horrible situation. So I was like, I'm sorry, we can't see each other anymore. And she was taking real back from it. She was like, why? What did I do? What did I? And I said, it's not about you. It's about what I am feeling at this moment. And I understand, like, it was a very tough situation to feel right then and there, but ultimately that relationship didn't serve me. I told her, I said, we're messing around with each other out of convenience. But do you really love me? Do I really love you? Are we really
benefiting off this relationship right now?
If we're really honest with each other, if we're really, really honest with each other, am I what you want? No. Are you what I want? No.
So then why are we?
Exactly.
Right.
Why are we wasting each other's time?
Our voids.
Yeah,
we're entertaining our voids, right? Damn, that must have been so deep, like, to just even confront.
Oh, I cried. Like, I was just like, I was there saying all my stuff, and then they bounced, and I was just like,
yeah, exactly. But that's a real raw emotion. You're not gonna just internalize it and just be like, nah, I'm tough, like fuck that shit. Like, that's really a step of male maturity right there. Just being able to be like, yeah, like, that upset me. And I got emotional, but I snapped right back and I got right out of it. I know you and her came out stronger because of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Without entertaining each other and just being able to say, let's walk away.
Yeah.
Instead of.
And I would have to say, having that conversation, I was just like, because I respect you, because I love you, I'm willing to have this tough conversation. Because there were definitely women that I didn't have that conversation with, and I just ghosted. There were definitely times where, like, I was just like, be real. Yeah, like, I'm just like, I didn't have it then. Now that I have the tools, now that I know better, I try to do better. But it's a journey. It's a process.
What would you say was the most challenging thing within yourself starting up your own organization and your activism? What was the most challenging thing that you had to face internally within the first 2-3 years?
That I was meant to be the leader.
Okay.
Like, and that sounds weird.
Right, because, like, you were the leader from the beginning.
So the real story, or the story from the beginning was, I made it very clear in the body that I said, listen, I don't want to be the leader. I said, I don't want to be the leader. I want other people to take charge of this. I want other people to run this organization. Nobody stepped up. Nobody wanted to do it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of headache. It's a lot of, like, people, pointing fingers when balls get dropped. So I didn't want to be the leader. And then when you're in a leadership position, you're like, okay, well, I'm here now. What do I do with this? And then still being the leader, but trying to navigate never feeling like the actual leader, because I never felt it inside me, because I knew how I started this. I knew when I started, I didn't want to be the leader of the Newark Water Coalition. I just wanted to live my life. But then thrusting into this role and then evolving it over time. And then in my mind and in my heart and in my soul, realizing, okay, we're here now. I'm the leader.
Right.
I have to lead this organization. And okay, I'm going to answer that call. So it's very, very different from when I first started this into being like, okay, how do we spread out this responsibility? How do we spread out, like, everything that's going on? Because I didn't want to be the leader. So I think that was a very, very tough thing that I had to go through personally. And then understanding, like, that concept of being focused on community then instead of being focused on what everything around us. And I think COVID taught me that. It was like, I want to focus on community because I know there's needs in my community. I don't care what everybody else is saying. I don't care what everybody is talking about. All I care about is the work that I'm doing. I had a conversation with a reporter recently, and they said, like, "Oh, we want to get your comment on this." It was about something about City Hall, and I said no. I said absolutely not. Oh, they were shocked. Why don't you want to talk to the press? I said because we know what City Hall does. We know they're corrupt. That story has been written over and over for many years.
Right.
If you want to talk to me about my work, we could talk all day.
Right.
You want to talk to me about some other nonsense? No, because it's a distraction. I don't need to get bogged down into that pettiness because, again, that doesn't serve me. What serves me is my community and the work that I'm doing. And so having that focus, I think that was another changing point. I think there's so many things that I've learned in this journey about myself as an individual and as myself as an activist, myself as an organizer, as a man, as just,
just all around.
Just all around.
Right.
All around. Like, because I show up as my whole ass self as the co-founder of the Newark Water Coalition.
And every day you don't know what you're going to walk into. You're walking into betting.
Yeah. I tell people that all the time is that, again, you got to be flexible, adaptable because every day the game changes. Every day. And we don't know what we're going to be faced with. Who knew? And it's crazy, right? We're going on a year of COVID. Who knew last March we would have been going through this for an entire year and still going through it? But you know what? Again, not focused on that. I'm focused on my work. This is just, okay, COVID's here. How do we move now? How do I pivot the organization? What does our programming look like? How do we maintain our relevancy in this pandemic? And again, by the grace of God, we have. And
yes,
if
you guys have like a whole Newark Water Collision on the billboard recently.
So it's one of those things where you see who's doing the work and who's not doing the work. And that's what I love about now. It's so harder to be one of those clout chasers because I tell people all the time, look at their receipts. What have they been doing? Who has been putting in this work? And hands down, for the last 2 years, I could say we're one of the best orgs right now in the city of Newark doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen you guys everywhere. And before even having you on, I've heard about you guys.
Yeah, and that
says a lot. Yeah, that's all on your work.
So I have a food pantry outside my house. And so the other day I pull up, I'm emptying out my truck. I have like a bunch of cans of food. This guy runs up on me and he catches me off guard. I'm like, whoa. And he goes, he's like, I want to help you. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. And he goes, I follow you on Instagram. I'm doing a delivery in this neighborhood. I saw the Newark Water Coalition sign, and I just love everything you're doing. And then in Spanish, he goes, solo tenemos nosotros. And we only have each other. Or we only have us. And I'm like, I don't know this, man. And so that ripple effect of the lives that we are affecting as an organization is powerful.
Yeah.
Is powerful.
That's what made me emotional. In the times that I was a part of La Mesa organization. That was an organization brought up from my Congregation Rock of Salvation. We're a Hebraic based congregation. And every Sunday, and bright as early, we would feed the needy, give them bags of groceries to last them for the week, like a loaf of bread with vegetables and stuff so they can eat it, and granola bars and coffee with iced tea. And just seeing their reactions just humbled me in my personal life. I was battling depression, working at a job I didn't want to work, but I still worked, and I still got paid. And going and stepping outside of these organizations made me feel like, oh my God, I fed this woman that had 4 children and she was out in the streets. What am I really complaining about? It made me really sit here and really question my place. There's a lot of people that we all don't know about, that they may be battling bigger battles than what we think is our biggest battle.
I had a volunteer just this Saturday tell me, they brought their clothes and sneakers to donate. As soon as they put a pair of sneakers out, someone took them. And they said, I never thought that somebody would be so appreciative of my old stuff. And he's seeing the smile on their face as they took their pair of sneakers changed something in me. And I said, that's what I'm trying to do with everybody. Because you can't provide a service and not be transformed. You can't hand out a loaf of bread or a bag of groceries or a mask or a gallon of water and not see the look on their face and their eyes and be like, okay, I'm just going to go back to living my life. You just can't. You just can't, because one, in your world, it's like, I need to be more thankful. I need to have a heart of gratitude that I get to wake up in a comfortable bed and, the lights come on, the faucet, all this. I got Wi-Fi, that kind of stuff. Where other people are suffering. And I'm talking about real suffering. And it's sad that, we have the greatest access to knowledge and technology than ever in the history of mankind. And we're still, tackling like medieval problems, medieval age problems.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Sebi was warning us a long time ago. If you want to get technical there. Like, I mean, what's one of the biggest goals for you guys as an organization, as you're standing here? What do you see in your long haul for my audience and for listeners to understand what Newark Water Coalition is really trying to stand for? Like, what is that future that you see in your organization that you started, that you didn't even plan you were going to be a leader of?
Oh, there's so many things that I want to do. I want to open up an organizing school, the Newark Water Coalition organizing school. I want to, I just want to do it all. Someone asked us recently, or someone is trying to connect us to a Netflix documentary directors.
Go ahead.
So that would be a dream. There's a project that we're looking for $1.3 million in funding. If we get that funding, which it's almost like we're like 90% there that we're going to get it, which ultimately will allow us to publish a book based on some of our scientific research.
Oh, really? So that's all of this is just groundbreaking here.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I want to do is open the door for other grassroots organization, other community-based organizations to say, the Newark Water Coalition did it. We can do it.
Yeah.
And then that's a game changer to affect communities across this country and across the world. And one of the things that I've been trying to wrap my mind around and telling folks about is like, listen, even if we fail at whatever we're trying to accomplish, it's like fumbling a football. Somebody else can pick it up and run.
Right.
And that's what I want, because I definitely believe in not being a gatekeeper to younger activists and younger organizers, but at least empowering them and giving them the resources to go even further than I can imagine.
And not to limit and believe in what their own limitations were and what they quote on.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Yes.
Because, if you 2 years ago, I would have given you a different answer than I'm giving you today. And even today, that answer could change tomorrow. Because again, the game changes and the circumstances change, but I know that I have faith in the work that I'm doing.
So you essentially, like, you're an inspiration to those people who, let's say, if I wanted to start a rehab center, I could essentially start it because you just started your own.
Yeah. And people are like, well, what? It's believing in yourself, right? Because you spend... this one of the things when I first left my IT job, I said, you spend 40-50 hours a week on that job. That's 40-50 hours a week that you're not spending on yourself. Imagine spending 40 hours a week on VAL. What does that mean? Spending 40 hours a week on Anthony has led me here, has led me into this organization and directing it in ways that I never thought possible, because I took that energy that I was spending making someone else money, making someone else's dreams come true, and I decided to make my dreams come true. And so that's the biggest thing that I would tell folks is like, and it's not like, oh, grinding in a different way. It's just grinding for yourself, sitting with yourself. We could say, oh, I love myself and all this other stuff. But how often do you take yourself out to eat? How often do you go on trips by yourself? How often do you sit with yourself? How often do you really feel the emotions that are going through your body? And once you do that, once you start doing that, then you start showing up for yourself in other areas and unlocking and manifesting all the desires of your heart and your soul. Because it's like, yo, honestly, we should just be vibing, right? Why is this world designed to be a rat race or a hamster wheel? Again, that's not our framework. That's not why we were put here. We were put here to answer the call of your passion, of your dreams, and nothing else. Everything else is just sprinkles. on the cupcake.
Right. Even how you're speaking right now behind it, you're speaking with intent and with purpose. Like, I feel what you're saying. You're not just talking out your ass and reciting something that you recited to somebody. Like, this is something that you genuinely have a passion for. This is what you live and breathe. Yeah. And it could have been 6 months from now or whatever, but I know that it has to deal with all of what you've gone through from the beginning to now.
Yeah.
How long it's been now since you started to now?
2 years. It's only been 2 years. That's what I'm saying. We've done things that organizations who have been in existence for 5 to 10 years couldn't even fathom of doing. So that when people tell me no, I laugh. When people tell me why do that, I laugh, because I'm like, all right, you just don't get it. And that's fine. You're not meant to get it. But it's not going to stop me from doing it, because I've already accomplished more in the last 2 years than some people have in their entire lives.
Yeah.
And now that I have that swag and that confidence, you can't tell me nothing. I told people once I got my hair, this is the longest my hair has ever been.
Oh, really?
This girl once told me, my friend Marquita, shout outs to her.
Shout out to Marquita.
She was like, cut your hair. She's like, women don't like that. And ever since then, I kept my hair, it was a Caesar, so like a skin tight fade. Okay. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to grow my hair out. Then COVID just lined up because everybody was growing their hair out. Right. But I love it. I love my hair like this. That was like a wild man. You're just exactly like, and
like,
I'm
why
like,
not?
Exactly. It's like my hair is an embodiment of who I am, just like natural, like my authentic self. Right. And like it just everything permeates through me. This confidence, this desire, this faith of like, yo, how can I not have lived this life and think that anything I'm gonna do is gonna fail? It's not. As
long as you set your mind to it and you believe in it enough, you will get that going. You will get that goal done. All right. So before we end our show, I always like to ask one question. It's like, if you have an aspiring person who's in your shoes, who has been brought up in misfit, brought up in minority areas, always second guessing themselves, but wants to start something and wants to make a change in the community, what do you advise that young woman or man?
I would say the first thing is see who's doing the work and see if you can partner with them. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. It's really, really hard to start an organization, but it's not impossible. But what you can do is see who's doing the work, tap into them. If you guys align, then you can start your own thing, or you could at least work with them and partner. So at least you get a better understanding of the landscape. Sometimes, I do believe in baptism by fire, which is like you're just going out there and you're just doing whatever. Right. But it's a lot harder. And that takes a lot more time. But so I would say.
Is that the way that you did it?
Yeah.
That's why he's saying that, guys. Listen to it.
But, I think being open and receptive is number one. Seeing who else is doing the work is number two. I would say being open and receptive is number one, because if I would have said no, or I would have never talked to people, then I wouldn't be here right now.
Being receptive and open to hearing other people,
communicating with other people, just like, you have to put yourself out there. You have to, that's it. If you want to start something, if you want to get involved in this work, put yourself out there. You will fail, you will laugh, you will cry, you will have moments of astounding triumph. And you will have moments of profound sadness. But you'll learn. And I assure you, you'll get up the next day, and every day is a new day to start again.
Oh, thank you. That was such a beautiful and sweet, delightful advice. Like, you gave me some life today, really. Now, as an activist and as someone who's a music cultivator and I love my music, is there any special or famous activists that you listened to, that you recalled or recited, poetry, art, or a song lyric that you specifically go to?
I would say activist wise, it's definitely Malcolm X. It's definitely Malcolm X.
Hands down,
it's
Malcolm X.
I do have a tattoo for MLK, but it's hands down is Malcolm X. Because it's, I loved his story. I love just learning about him. I love his growth as an activist. And again, it really, really comes down to that line, by any means necessary. If I am a true revolutionary, if I truly believe in the liberation of our people, then I am down to do it by any means necessary.
And that was Malcolm X's way, period.
Yeah. And again, people take that in the context of violence, but I take it in the context of like, there is no tactic that is off the table in showing our people how to do this. And that's why that one line, that quote,
we can
really
reinvent it. We can keep it the same, but we have to teach our people, right?
Yeah, by any means.
Thank you for that. Thank you for coming on to the show. This is awesome. Like, I feel like I learned so much from you. Like, I feel liberated after this.
Oh, thank you. I assure you, I'm a janky man. Like, I love to have fun and laugh. But I do understand that there's a lot of power in my soul these days.
No, there definitely is. And you guys need to definitely follow and support Anthony Diaz. You guys already know he's taking in donations. So please don't stop. The pockets are not closed. They're never closed.
Ever.
Never, ever. Newark Water Collision needs us right now. We want to prevent all of these disabilities or future things from happening to our city, you know? So just follow and stay tuned, really. Where can they follow you, just so they know?
So the Newark Water Coalition's IG is Clean Water 4 Newark. My political IG is Newark Politics. Check out our website, www.newarkwatercoalition.com. And we're also on Facebook.
Yes. And if they have merch, don't forget to support that merch because it's important. Okay.
Yes.
But you guys already know. Thank you guys for tuning in. Reflections with Val. We out.
Peace.
Peace.